We're back with our Scream series continuation. Last week we gave you part 1. Today we're coming back with sequels, but don't worry, unlike what Randy said in part 2, I don't think necessarily that all sequels suck. Some of them are good, not necessarily House 2, but some of them are decent. Definitely the ones mentioned in Scream 2, Aliens,
T2. Probably because
The Godfather of part 2.
I mean, again, most likely because those movies still with the horror element, but also added more action, so it was more fun to watch.
And this movie, by definition, they say in the movie that sequels are inferior to the original, so maybe they purposely made a movie that wasn't as good as the first Scream? As an in-joke? Hey, we know sequels suck, so don't have high expectations for this one.
Nah.
Well, maybe not. Okay, well...
I mean, what would you expect when you get the damn Roseanne's friend from Roseanne to be the main villain?
Hey, you will call her Mrs. Debbie Loomis.
Or as she calls herself throughout the entire movie, Debbie Salt, until you find out she's Debbie Loomis.
As with Scream, spoilers ahead. If you haven't seen it, you're not going to want to listen to this podcast until you go view Scream 2. But come on, you're horror fans. You've seen Scream 2. Everybody's seen Scream 2. Where we last left off, Scream had taken over the world. Huge box office, late 96, early 97.
I'm still trying to figure out why I called this movie Scream when there was hardly any screaming.
I don't know. But biggest horror movie in a long time. Won awards. Randomly won the MTV Movie Award for Best Movie of the Year. Set the world on fire. So, of course, what does Hollywood do? They greenlight the sequel. Within 11 months, we have Scream 2 Hair in theaters. The very next December.
To be honest, that's probably why this movie isn't as good, because anything rushed sucks ass.
That's the background. I say let's jump in right in the opening scene. What do you think?
Maureen and Phil's death.
Yes, folks, this is not a coincidence, of course, as you know, that they are named Maureen and Phil.
But Phil's last name is Steven.
Which, if you remember from Scream 1, the OG 2 victims are Maureen Prescott and Steve, whatever his last name was.
You do know Maureen was actually an off movie kill because her death happened a year later.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Or a year earlier.
Yeah, I'm not saying on screen. I'm saying that in the canon of the movie, technically she's the first kill, even though we never see it. Here we have 2 new characters.
Played by Omar Epps and Jada Pinkett. You know, this scene probably would have been funnier had they gotten Will Smith instead of Omar Epps.
He would have demanded $20 million for six minutes on screen. It would have been a good investment for 6 minutes.
To be completely honest, if I was given a budget high enough to do that.
This was a big budget movie. This movie, we can say right now, this cast is stacked. Mm-hmm. They tried to get, even in the minor roles, the most minor roles, they try to get somebody who's a known face. There's no no-name actors in any role in this movie, I don't think.
Yeah, so...
Like Sarah Michelle Gellar said that she didn't even read the script. She just signed on because they offered her any role in Scream 2. She was like, well, based on the success of Scream 1, I'll do whatever you want, basically. She didn't even know what her character was like that. She just signed on.
She didn't know that she was going to die again?
No, she found that out during the table read. Jamie Kennedy, who plays Randy, had a funny story where they're at the table read. The cast, they were basically getting the script as it was done. And they wanted to keep the cast in the dark so nobody knew who the killer was. Like, everybody was on a need-to-know basis, basically. They're getting a few pages every day of the script. And they said at, like, one day, like, at the table read, they get some new pages, and Sarah Michelle Gellar's excited because she sees her name in the script. She's like, oh, I got a scene here! And then she's like, oh, I get thrown off a balcony. And Jamie Kennedy was laughing. He was like, did you think you were going to make it to the end of the movie? Like, so...
Dick. Maybe she was at least either expecting a little bit longer or a better death.
She's like on the poster, I believe, or if not on the poster, she's like...
She's on one of them.
She gets 4th billing. They got the big 3, and then the 4th billing is Sarah Michelle Gellar. So based on the billing, you would think that she is one of the main characters. But that shows how much stock she had at that time, that she gets 4th billing, even though she's pretty much a minor role. So.
And another big name actor who wasn't a big name actor at the time, but was in this movie, Timothy Olyphant. I have no idea if I'm saying his name right.
Timothy, is Oliphant or Oliphant?
I'm saying Oliphant.
I'm going to say Timothy. This is one of his first movies.
He definitely does become a better actor. I especially loved him in the Justified series.
I've heard everybody hype that show up, so.
I enjoyed it. I mean, it's a more, I'd say, grittier version of Walker, Texas Ranger without all the martial arts.
He oversells.
By a lot, but that's besides the point.
I really think he's like, he watched Matthew Lillard in the first one. He's like channeling Stu or trying to be Stu here. Because that's the only thing that makes sense.
And you know what he should have said? I've always had a thing for you, Stan.
Oh,
hit me with a fun, you dick.
The more and more I think about it, the more I should have just given the best performance of part one to Matthew Lillard. He's got the most. The shit you remember from the first one is all Matthew Lillard's lines. Everything he says.
That's because of the charisma he brings in for the character. He literally channeled the stew.
So the opening scene, we have Omar Epps, Jada Pinkett, who are both pretty much big stars, or both big stars in their own rights. Now, Omar Epps, he says in the very thing, it's a quick thing, but he says, these are free tickets we've gotten. So somebody gave them free tickets, and I'm guessing Mickey. Mickey somehow knows Omar Epps, and for some reason must have made an excuse like, hey man, I got these tickets, but I'm not going, because obviously the killers have to know that these two characters are going to be at the movie theater. And because of their names, they have to be the victims. So let's go off screen and say Mickey gave them free tickets and here they are, even though she wanted to go see the Sandra Bullock movie down the street.
But they never mentioned what the Sandra Bullock movie was.
I don't know, but I think it probably would have been better than Stab 2. So.
Well, actually, Stab...
This is Stab 1.
Yeah, that's
it's probably better than Stab. So.
Stab 2 came out in between 2 and 3, and they were filming 3 as we were watching Scream 3.
Okay. I think that whatever Sandra Bullock was doing is probably better than this.
Probably.
Oh, no, it might have been Speed 2.
Oh, no.
No, you want to stay off cruise control.
Yeah.
But I'll say this. You know how they actually have the stab scenes playing on the movie theater, right?
Right.
So, interesting fun fact. So, Robert Rodriguez directed those stab scenes. Now, the connection there is that you remember Rodriguez is the next year after this is going to do Faculty, which is a Kevin Williamson script. So somewhere in that connection, they got him to do the stab scenes.
So I'm also fine with the stab scenes here in this opening because we're in a movie theater. It's going to jump to it, kind of reference the first movie.
How do they know what happened to Drew Barrymore? Think about this. Who made the report of this is what happened to Drew Barrymore? She got a call and there's trivia and...
I'm telling you, Stewie's immortal and he's alive.
Nobody should know what happened to her other than she was chased around the house, she got gutted, hung by a tree, but all this other stuff...
Unless either Stu or Billy's alive. And we know Billy kind of dead.
So anyways, this is the most lively movie theater I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, if I ever went to this movie theater, I would have walked down and be like, where the fuck's my money, my refund?
Explain to me the flying ghost face and how that makes sense. This is not a superhero movie. This is Ghostface. Why is 5 ghost faces flying across the theater?
Why does anyone care about this kind of character when only one book's been written about the character?
Even more than that, think about what they're doing here. This is a movie based on recent real-life murders.
That happened, a year prior?
Would it be that celebrated? It's like these people, they're showing you actually died. This is a true story.
Yeah.
Would it be looked at as a cheesy slasher in the way they're presenting this?
No, it should be presented as a serious, only fucked up people would probably go see this movie.
And if this is the first Stab movie, why is Ghostface that popular?
He shouldn't be. The only thing we get prior to this is a book. And I doubt half these people read.
He's being treated like prime Freddy Krueger in this motherfucker. In the movie theater, they're acting like they're coming to see the new Candyman movie, the new Freddy movie. Yeah, it's Ghostface on a book. At most, you have rumors about the costume that was worn, but this looks like the Avengers. See, the biggest box office opening ever.
This would make more sense with maybe not Stab 2, but Stab 3.
Yeah, by the time you get there, in their world, Ghostface is actually a big thing.
Exactly.
Like by Scream 4, the characters are pretty, they actually call him Ghostface. But I don't understand why he's so popular here.
Because this scene would not work otherwise?
I guess, true. We need the crowd to be as rowdy as possible for the bullshit that's about to happen to Jada Pinkett and Omar Epps.
I wouldn't say what happens to Jada is bullshit minus how everyone's acting.
I like that. I like that part of it.
Omar Epps, on the other hand...
What in the blue hell is this bathroom scene?
I'm pretty sure hell's red, sir, but brimstone.
What in the red hell happens in this bathroom scene? All right.
Death.
Okay.
Death happens.
Okay, so Omar Epps.
It's a toilet of blood.
Omar Epps, like many of us film-going viewers, at certain points during the movie, you have to go take a piss.
I try not to. I will literally hold that motherfucker until this movie's over.
You feel like you're not getting your value if you miss 2 minutes of the movie.
You're damn right.
He's at least, give him credit, he's at the very beginning of the movie getting it out the way.
Well, there's that. There's also the fact that most slashers, you don't need to see the entire movie to understand what's going on.
Yeah, he'll theoretically be back in time to see Drew Barrymore's character get sliced and diced. So
exactly.
So he walks in the bathroom. There's a couple of ghost faces taking a piss,
and they even stare at him. It's like, sup?
And so because they are there, he's forced to go into the stall.
I mean, he could have waited till they were done.
Oh, yeah. Well, a lot of things could happen here, but what happened was pretty damn convenient for Ghostface.
Well, what I'm just wondering
This whole movie is Ghostface gets lucky.
What I'm trying to figure out. So he goes in there. He goes in. He doesn't even take a piss. He just starts hearing noises coming from the next stall. He puts his head up to it. I'm just like, so what's going on in that other stall is more important than your piss? 'Cause
Well,
I'm sorry, if I hold it in long enough, that thing hurts.
yeah, because you're right. He's acting like he really has to go, but then he's very curious about the weird sound coming from the other stall.
Which, to be honest with you, I know a lot of people say, yeah, there's a sound coming from there, but unless you have the subtitles on, you can't hear that sound.
Well, luckily for Ghostface, he hears the sound and he's curious enough to put his face perfectly against the stall in an exact spot where Ghostface, through his motherfucking X-ray vision, is able to feel the face on the stall, wind up, and stab hard enough to stab through the stall.
I'm going to assume the stall is actually made
Plastic.
out of...
It's a plastic stall, apparently.
Yeah.
Because the stalls I've seen in the bathroom, I wouldn't inherently think that I could stab through it with the velocity where the entire knife goes through clean into the guy's face.
At least not that damn much.
So actually, the horror of this, as you point out, is that Omar Epps dies with a full bladder. That's the most uncomfortable death ever. Not only you got a knife in your face, but
Well, most
you gotta
likely,
go.
There's a good chance that the minute he was stabbed, he definitely relieved himself.
Can you acknowledge this is the dumbest scene ever? How did Ghostface know he was going to be in the stall?
Trust me, it's not the dumbest scene ever because we haven't even gotten to Scream 3 yet.
Oh, God. Why? Well, and doing all that in a public bathroom where anybody can walk in at any time and see what's going on, we'll put that aside and move on to Jada Pickett's death, which is actually pretty well done.
So this death, I can definitely see, it's definitely well done just because of how terrifying it is.
It's the worst fear you could think of.
Because think about it, you're in an extremely crowded area. All of a sudden you get stabbed, you're screaming out for help, and no one's helping you because they think it's part of an act for the movie.
Yeah, and even you get into the aisle, and Ghostface is still stabbing you in the aisle, and people still aren't giving you the time of day.
In fact, people are literally cheering that you're being stabbed. One guy, I think, throws popcorn at her.
Yeah. Well, again, this happened at the most rowdy movie theater experience I've ever seen in my life.
No, seriously.
Lucky for Ghostface, this was a quiet crowd, and they're just looking ahead watching the movie, which they should be. But they're like so into it, you can't even hear the movie. You can't hear her scream. You know, this opening scene, I don't know how to judge it because it's kind of like, I take half a star away for the Omar Epps death, but then I give half a star back for Jada Pickett's death.
So right now it's at half star.
It's a net neutral.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, whatever. All right, so we cut to Windsor College? Windsor campus?
College.
Where
we meet our cast, which I have all of them written down. Sydney, Hallie, Cece, Randy, Mickey, Derek, Joel, Gail, and Dewey.
Now, let me ask you, can you name the sorority sisters?
Rebecca Gayheart.
Oh, we're using the real names, huh?
No, what's bad is on the IMDb page, all it says is sorority sister. I don't think they actually give them names.
How do you have Rebecca Gayheart and use her for such a small-ass non-role? This is the exact same time.
When was Urban Legends filming?
This exact time, but I don't think they were necessarily... I don't know if they were in conflict, but she's your main villain in Urban Legends, and you could have gave her a death scene.
She's just the Noxema girl here.
No, she was actually had a reoccurring role on Beverly Hills 90210, and I don't know that because I watched it. I just know because I saw a commercial for it and then put it together. So not because I was a huge fan of Beverly Hills 90210 that came on every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock on Fox. But that's besides the point, buddy.
You fail, man.
She should have been given a death scene, okay? Can we at least acknowledge this is the biggest cast ever?
Right. Well, how about we go ahead and dwindle them down while during a sorority house party, Ghostface gets into the other sorority house where Cece's left alone.
CC stands for Casey something.
How does CC stand for Casey?
It does.
Because her name was actually Casey Becker.
No. I read that it's short. The reason why she's a victim here is because her name is actually Casey.
Well, yeah, we learned that at the police station.
So her name is Kate. The first one's Casey, but I forgot what the second one is. It's Casey something. Let's just say Casey Kakums.
So let's go ahead and just get to her death, where apparently she was not excited to hear she got thrown off a balcony this early in the movie.
No, because that's a boring death. She gets chased. This is clearly Mickey.
Yeah.
Mickey is doing most of the Ghostface work here, not Mrs. Loomis.
No, Mrs. Loomis, I don't think would have had the strength or the stamina to do half the shit he does.
This setup here is good. I like the phone call. I like the brief chase. But at the end, he just catches her, throws her through the thing, and then throws her off the balcony.
He stabs her twice.
Stabs her twice. Do you see what happens to the knife after he stabs her the second time?
No.
All right, when you get a chance, go back and watch. The knife, like, disappears. It flies away. Like, it's like he threw it out of existence. Like, you have to, like, pause and watch what happens. But
So Mickey
for the
is
audience,
a magician is what you're saying.
For the audience, watch when, after the second stab, watch what happens to the knife. Launches her off, and in all these horror movies, if it's the main girl and she flies off a balcony,
She survived.
she survives. But if you're like in the middle of the movie, timing-wise, and you fall off a balcony, or you're Tyson and you fly off the balcony from part 3, you're automatically dead.
Well, I mean, she did slam her head up against concrete. That's pretty death-defying.
We didn't see her head bounce. She could have broken her fall on the way down with her hands and knees and just had a scraped knee and a broken elbow. Look, I've been mad about this kind of thing since part 4 Friday the 13th, when the girl off the second story onto a car was pronounced dead on sight. The bottom line is, a character being thrown off a balcony is not automatic death unless you're in a goddamn Scream movie. So
Another thing they establish is Dewey gets damaged by a severed nerve from the previous movie. And the one thing I'm curious, so that severed nerve was like, what, midway on his back? So I could understand what's going on with the limb. Did you notice what's going on with his hand? His hand's like always like this, like all cramped up and always up like this. And I'm just like, dude, where you were stabbed would not have affected your fucking arm.
I don't have the medical knowledge to expand upon this. I'm going to give David Arquette the benefit of the doubt and say he did some kind of research and he put that in his performance. To me, quite frankly, he should be dead. I think he died in the first movie, and this is his twin brother, Dopey, because I feel he died in the first one, but he's back.
So then which one's going to be in the third movie?
That's the third twin, Doofy. It's Dopey, Doofy, and Dewey. So, but look, okay, we got Dewey back.
So then Doofy's smarter than Dopey and Dewey.
I think the Killers at the Point said, to hell with this copycat shit, because it's never going to come up again in the movie.
Right.
It's over. The whole thing is over. No more copycat.
Yeah, because notice how everyone else who dies does not have any names matching to the original victims.
None. Now it's just a free-for-all, basically. Now, we should go ahead and mention, just be, in the original script that was leaked online, they had to change it, Mickey's not the killer. So all these opening scenes with Mickey, these are all in the context of he's supposed to just actually be a victim later on. He's not supposed to end up being the killer. So that's why he's really, really underdeveloped and really has no character at all other than film student. Randy gives the rules of a sequel. Did you disagree with any of the rules?
There's a lot of things I disagree with.
He said basically that the sequels are always more gorier and more bloody. That probably is true in most of the horror movies I've
Not
seen.
this one. Remember, the first movie had guts in it.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, this one
doesn't.
This one wasn't exactly Carnage Candy, you're right. He does actually call out Mickey as the killer.
Well, he also called out a lot of people as the killer.
He called out Haley as the killer, which actually in the original script she was.
Well, Randy's smart enough that he called out Billy, too. The only one he didn't call out was Stu, but, I mean, who really...
No way to know that. So. All right, so moving on.
Oh, yeah, there is one character we forgot to mention. Debbie Salt.
Debbie Salt. Wow, I think she's going to be just a minor character who does nothing in this movie. Oh, my God, wait a minute. Billy's mother. Does that sound?
Yeah, I was going to go along with your joke until you said that.
Billy's mother. Again, not judging Timmy.
It's not as good as I Still Know What You Did Last Summer with Benson.
Oh, yeah. Hey, maybe they got that idea from this movie, actually.
It's like, yeah, see, Debbie Salt, that makes no sense. Why not say Benson? Like, why? Benson.
I still haven't forgiven that movie for that. And I will always never forgive. I will always still never forgive as many things as I can use from that series.
That movie's still fun as hell to watch, though.
Debbie Salt, and also Gail's cameraman, who is very...
I mentioned Joel. I just said his name.
Yeah, but he's constantly bringing up that, hey, your last cameraman got gutted and hung on top of a van?
And then she corrects him. Like, he was not gutted. I embellished that for the book. He looked all happy. And she goes, his throat was slit. He's like, what?
Look, he should have negotiated for a pay raise right then.
Right.
Clearly, this job is going to demand more money.
She's not the one in charge of his money. It's the people who sent him to her.
Well, somebody should have paid him more money because his life's at risk now.
Well, he even's like, I don't know if I can do this. I mean, we don't exactly survive in these movies.
And they talk about that in the opening too with Omar Epps and Jada Pinkett. So,
Randy's death.
all right, so
Why taunt a killer? What, you think because you're out in the open, you're not going to get hit?
I think that the scene was set up in a weird way. So, Ghostface is calling Gail's phone, which Randy picks up for whatever reason, and then they decide to split up to find Ghostface because I think that Ghostface is going to be standing out in the open on his cell phone.
Or hers.
So doing Gail's plan is to run around and everybody they see with the phone to tackle them and grab their phone and be like, hey.
That was fucking hilarious when Dewey just jumps right on top of this guy. I was like, what? Really?
So they think Ghostface is the dumbest killer ever. Like, he's over standing like on the other side of the park. Hey, it's me, Ghostface. I'm over talking to you. So they tell Randy, they're like, keep him talking. So when he starts talking, you can tell he's in an awkward spot of like, so what's your favorite scary movie? It's like,
and then he starts going off about Billy Loomis being a pretty much jackass and all this.
But the whole thing was weird because the killer was triggering Randy as if he knows him. He's like, you'll never get the girl and stuff like that. I'm like, what? How's he?
Which, to be fair,
how is he getting personal as if he knows him? That doesn't make sense.
Again, to be fair, since we know
he's implying that he knows that he likes Sydney.
Well, since we know it is Mrs. Loomis that does this per the fucking movie.
She's never met Randy.
But what makes you say that? If he was still part of that friend group, mainly because of Sydney, she would have met him at some point in time. They only got divorced 1 year prior.
Okay, if that was the case, though, I actually think she would actually like Randy and take it easy on him.
No, because
if he's an old friend of the family, he wasn't responsible for killing Billy.
Yeah, but she's also insane. Right now, she just wants to kill people.
Okay, I get what you're saying, but the main thing she's saying is basically she's implying that she knows that he likes Sydney, and that I don't think would be something she from 5 years ago. 11-year-old Randy, 11-year-old Sydney would know that. So it felt very like, not bad writing, but it felt like way too specific. Because actually, that's why he got mad, is because Ghostface triggered him with like specific things about him he was saying. But at the same time,
Randy pissed her off.
Well, yeah, but there's a lot of problems here. One thing is that,
how's an old woman able to pick him up and slam him up against a window?
She has one hand grab him by the mouth. The other hand is completely one hand to lift his entire body up and pull him. So one hand on the face and then one arm to lift him up. This is a 110-pound, 50-year-old woman. And Randy flies into the van with a velocity of like Jason Voorhees grabbed him.
As people keep bringing up to me, adrenaline does some fucked up shit to you.
I have a hard time believing she could do it with two hands. She lifted him with one hand.
I mean, she most likely...
She's in a Ghostface costume, by the way. She's not even like comfortable. She's in a Ghostface costume. And by the way, somewhere in her hands or somewhere near her, she has to have the knife also. Where's the knife?
Here's a real question. Why did Joel not lock the damn door?
Why is Ghostface like in the van? Because, yeah, Joel, who went to go get donuts, he actually literally went to go get donuts. He comes back with a dozen donuts.
Oh, I know.
A dozen donuts. He could easily have come up on like the back of the van or whatever and just opened it. And then you have this 50-year-old woman in a Ghostface costume. I'm pretty sure Joel just kicks her ass. Because the only thing that works is like if she can catch somebody by the element of surprise.
But she did.
She's not going to be sitting in the van in the Ghostface costume and like somebody pulls up in the van and she's like, gotcha. Like, this is almost as bad as the opening bathroom scene. She's relying on somebody backing up to the van in broad daylight with nobody watching, and then she's trusting her strength to grab him. This is all bullshit.
I think I know the real word. Remember, this phone call was originally meant for Gail. Had Gail answered it, she could have talked Gail into going to the van. Gail opens the door, knife automatically right in her. Gail was originally meant to be the next victim for this.
I get it, but I still think there's a huge problem with that. If Joel is the cameraman, and he's actually with Gail, he has just as much reason to go to the van. Really, it's his van. He's the cameraman. Like, he's more likely to go to the van. He actually says, when he comes back, he says, hey, what happened to my damn van windshield? It's his van. So she doesn't know that Joel's got a sudden craving for donuts? How's she know he going to Dunkin' Donuts?
Well, remember, Joel wasn't even originally supposed to be part of this movie.
We'll get to that.
That's how they got over this scene. They made Joel leave for donuts.
Okay. There's two different sides that are working together in huge coincidences to make this work. There's that side of it, Ghostface in the van. By the way, later on, they show that Ghostface was actually filming from the van because they have camera footage later on of someone in the van filming Randy.
Oh, yeah, they do.
So there's a camera there. There's also the coincidence of Randy himself, with all his horror movie knowledge, he's in an open space. He's going to put himself in this entire whole area. He's going to put himself in the one potentially bad spot that could be bad for him.
Yes. Here's another thing. And this is more stupid on the effects part of it. Because notice how when the knife stabbing's actually happening to kill Randy, pulls it up, the blood stains on there. Okay, fine. Goes back down, comes back up. Blood stains are the exact same. All 3 times.
And in all this, she's organized enough to pull him in the van, and everything goes perfect.
Yes.
It's bullshit, man.
Well, it is the neighbor from Roseanne.
We'll get to it eventually, but they had to bring back Randy in part 3 with a damn video. In the original version, there was no Joel. Randy was actually Gail's cameraman.
Which would also kind of explain a lot more this death scene.
Yeah. So Joel being last second put in the movie as the cameraman, used for comedic relief. They didn't have anything written of what to do with this character, basically. And Dwayne Martin, who plays him, basically came up to Wes and was like, what if I just leave? And Wes is like, leave? Well, how would you do it? How would you leave? And he's like, with a cab. I can just get in a cab and leave. And Wes laughed his ass off. I was like, all right, let's do it. It's the greatest thing ever. To me, it's the best scene in any horror movie ever. The smartest thing you've ever seen. He's like, yeah, I'm getting in a cab and leaving. I love it. It's great. So that's a shining moment in this movie for sure.
All right, so Gail and Dewey go watch the tapes.
Yes. And everything's been filmed. Cece's death was filmed. Randy's thing.
Dewey and Gail about to have sex.
This really was just an excuse to rekindle their romantic thing that was kind of hinted at, but now they're back together.
Yeah, because apparently Gail used him, so they broke it off.
You just can't keep these two crazy kids apart.
I can't say anything else until we get to the third movie.
They're magnetically drawn to each other, clearly. I will say this. Probably my favorite scene in this movie is this chase scene that Gail has.
In the sound stage or sound studio?
Really well done. Really like a great chase scene. The way it's done. The way you see her side of it, and you see the kill in the background. You see what he's thinking too. And it's like a cat and mouse game because she's like trying to be one thing in front of him, and she actually is. But given what's happening on Sydney's side of things, I think this is actually Mrs. Loomis. Mickey's off doing the whole thing with Haley and Sydney.
Right.
There's no way possible that he could be doing both at the same time. So I do think this is Miss Loomis. But the ending of this scene with Dewey coming into the room,
getting stabbed 3 times in the back this time, not just once. 3. What is with Mrs. Loomis in 3?
I don't know.
If you haven't noticed that, so we believe this is Mrs. Loomis. With Randy, she stabbed him 3 times. With Dewey, she stabbed him 3 times.
Here's why this annoys me. This is such a good death scene. If this is his death scene, it's such a poetic. Gail sees him dying. It's tragic. It's really well done. It's betrayed when he's still fucking alive.
Dewey versus Jason.
I think Dewey has a chance, man. Dewey can't cause him any harm, but he can take a licking.
Right.
But would you agree? This is like, if this is actually his death scene, this is a really good way to go out. This is like an epic death scene. Mm-hmm. You ruin it later on, but in the moment, I was like, this is a great scene. Love it.
And then Cotton Weary comes in. Oh, yeah, we never even mentioned Cotton at all once in this whole episode. Well, Cotton comes in first to, covered in blood because he tried to help Dewey. And Gail runs thinking it's Cotton, runs into Mrs. Loomis. And now let's get to Haley.
Okay, now, for one of the first times in this movie, smart, Sydney's actually in protective custody. She actually has 2 cops protecting them.
The entire movie ever since all these killings started again.
Beautiful. and the cops are gonna drive her off to some secluded cabin or some shit somewhere and hide for the time being.
What could go wrong besides some snappy comebacks, a Ghostface killer shoving his knife through the door?
Now this Ghostface. This is teenage Mickey, who is about to assault and destroy 2 police officers who both have guns and are in a car.
And by the way,
This is some superhuman shit about to happen.
well, they're not only that, but when the cop is on the hood of the car, he keeps telling the 2 girls, "Get down." Until they get down, yeah, he's not going to shoot and worry of hitting them.
That cop got it really bad. Jesus.
That's probably the goriest kill in this whole movie.
He got it really bad.
Is that damn pipe going through his face.
Luckily for them, it also knocks out Ghostface, giving them a chance to escape from the car. Now, this is actually a pretty tense scene because I expected Haley to die here. You
So-
expect Ghostface to wake up and stab her.
I have one small issue with the car scene. Obviously, I'm fine with Sydney going out the front way. Okay, door's jammed. Why not, hear me out, break the fucking window? We obviously notice those window is not the traditional cop windows that's bulletproof.
I can tell you why. Because at this point, they're still trying to be as quiet as possible as to not have Ghostface jump up and wake up. So Ghostface in the front seat hearing boom, 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 crack of the glass. Ghostface like, oh shit, what's going on here? Hell, yeah!
Yeah, but he also still has to get out the window as well because the door is jammed. Same with the back door. So you have better chance pulling Haley out the door and running.
I still disagree. If he's actually knocked out, their best chance is probably to be as quiet as possible they can get out.
They crawled over him. You're saying that if that extra weight on him didn't wake him up, I'm pretty sure a few noises is not going to wake this man up.
A few noises. You're talking about kicking in the windshield. That's gonna be loud as shit. If he's not dead, he's waking up. When you're asleep in a deep sleep, I think actually the crushing noise may wake you up more than somebody gently going past you. They slowly crawled over him
you're right.
as gently as possible.
And then that clapping died when Sydney's like, I'm tired of running.
I gotta figure out who it is.
It's like, run.
Figure this out later. Run.
And then they look, because she already missed her chance, to be honest, to find out who it is. I'm sorry, if you 100% wanted to figure out who it is, that's another thing. He didn't wake up when she honked the damn horn. They could have broken that glass.
No. But that could have easily triggered him, but it didn't.
Most likely the guy was already awake in the first place.
He's not awake when they're calling past him. He would have killed them.
He was already awake.
He's just trying
Why do you think
he's trying to make his kills more difficult?
Why do you think he literally got down there to the end of the road, turned around, and he's already gone?
I think as soon as
behind her.
I think as soon as they got out the car and started walking, he woke up. He saw them walking away. By the time she turns around and is like, I gotta go back, he's already out the car. What I don't understand is how this mofo knows to, I guess, run in a circle because he comes back from the other side.
So what I don't understand is,
how does this happen?
What I don't understand is Sydney blind?
Yeah, probably.
So because she says, I need to know who it is, turns around, us as the audience, through a camera, can see he's no longer there.
She takes a long time to recognize that he's not there.
Like, do you not see through the glass at the back of the window? There's a reason why all her friends died. It's because she's too blind to notice, hey, he's not there no more. Let's continue running.
I actually blame Haley here a little bit because she's standing back there. It doesn't mean because you're standing back there that you completely narrow your focus to. You ignore everything to the back and side of you and just narrow focus to what's going on with Sydney. A one glance to the side would have probably seen Ghostface coming at that point because there's no way Ghostface just appeared out of thin air.
So to be honest with you, in this situation, I would not have blamed Haley if she went
and ran.
Yeah.
At this point,
Haley be like, "Bye, bitch. You want to die? I'm not going to be part of it."
if she ran, I wonder if she runs. Does Ghostface still deal with Sydney or just run after? I don't know. Ghost would probably just run after Haley though.
But still, just when I think of Haley's death, I think she didn't die to Ghostface. She died because of Sid's stupidity.
They had a clear head start to get away.
Exactly.
And by the way, Sydney continues to be stupid because upon exiting this scene,
she goes to the
back to the university.
theater.
and back to the drama room. Now, I've seen online, I complain a lot about the randomness, the Ghostface's plan, Ghostface getting lucky basically in this opening scene with the theater. Certainly getting very lucky with the Randy's Death scene. But most commonly cited as the biggest example of Ghostface being lucky is the fact that Ghostface set up this elaborate-ass ending with Derek tied to the thing, all centered around the theater room, and it all hinges on Sydney showing up at this theater room.
So, to be honest
of all the
with
places
you,
Sydney could have gone, she ends up at this drama room.
To be honest with you, I still think this is more of a coincidence over it granted, if it was Derek and Haley still as the killers, this would have made a little bit more sense, as you brought up. However,
if that was the case, what would have happened, pretty sure in the script, would have been Haley would still be alive, and Haley, with her, they come back to the theater room where Derek is, and now it makes sense because Haley pushed for them to come back to the theater room.
right.
Sydney on her own, instead of going to, let's say, the police station.
Yeah, but I just want to mention, so I still think everything about this is still pretty coincidental, just for the fact that most likely, yes, Mickey was the one who ratted Derek out to the rest of the fraternity.
Oh, he was 100%.
About the necklace.
There's no question. He's in the Mickey's in the cafeteria when he does that.
Yeah, and
he sees an opportunity,
right?
And he takes it.
But here's the reason I say it's coincidental. Yes, the fraternity got him there, but why would he have thought the fraternity would have even taken him there in the first place?
If that didn't happen, the backup plan probably was to somehow just knock out Derek and kidnap him and bring him to the theater stage. Basically,
Mickey would not have been able to carry that man.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know. They take a lot of liberties with what Ghostface can do. When you put on that costume, you're Superman, apparently. No,
Mrs. Loomis probably could have.
No, I'm not saying from the killer side, I get maybe it's a coincidence. What I'm saying is that there's just no reason for Sydney to show up at an abandoned theater in the middle of the night. With everything going on, she's going to go somewhere where she knows there's people, but most likely she's in town. Most likely she's going to go to the police station.
Yeah, think about how long it took her to get back. Because she's been driving ever since, Gail and Dewey were attacked.
Yeah.
So she should have been halfway out of town by now.
And the problem is, at this point, it's like the killers have no way to track this. The killer's just like, after this, like Mickey makes a beeline back to the drama room to set things up, basically. And we know that Mrs. Loomis is kidnapping Gail. When Gail went and saw her out there, Miss Loomis must have hung up the phone and then immediately put out the gun and is like, I'm the killer, and brought her back to the drama room. But this is such a horrible coincidence, a leap of logic to say Sydney shows up for the grand finale.
What she does, and Derek gets shot.
Because if you're Sydney's boyfriend, you either got to be the killer or you got to die. Or you go on to be in a hit TV show called Grey's Anatomy. So that's for future reference.
It still just makes me wonder, if she had believed Derek and untied him, he still would have been shot. So to be honest, there was no saving this kid.
No.
Most likely Mickey would have shot him before she got him untied.
The second he committed to being Sydney's boyfriend, he's a dead man walking. There's no way he's making out of this one.
So Mickey gives his whole evil Bond villain mastermind head trauma.
Hey, right in line, when I think about classic line slasher movies, this is right up there with, what are you waiting for? The next level is Billy's mother. I mean, this is right there in that upper tier, man. Yeah, I mean, this is right up there. So when he gives that line, I'm like, this is going to be one of the great actors of our generation.
And Mrs. Loomis shoots him in the shoulder.
Well, I mean, that's your accomplice, but the plan wasn't for both of them to make it out.
Hey, here's the question. She was aiming to kill him. Why shoot him in the shoulder?
Because she's stupid.
Well, she wasn't that stupid when she killed Randy. She was just insane.
No, she was superhuman. She was given a script that let her do some superhuman shit.
Yeah. So then we get the little... I can't call it a fight because it's more Sydney cutting ropes and letting the entire stage fall on this woman.
Yeah,
She had more of a fight against Mickey, and all that happened was she punched him, and then he pulled the gun, grabbed the gun again.
Lucky for Sydney, Cotton comes to save the day.
Oh, are you sure? Because Cotton looks like he's about ready to shoot Sid.
He's thinking about it. Cotton's an opportunist. He's thinking about which road is going to get me a hit TV show. He's thinking about that already. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, can I trust Miss Loomis? He thinks about it for a second, but he's like, well, she is pretty crazy. I think at the end of the day, he says, hey, I'll take my chances with Sydney over Mrs. Loomis because Mrs. Loomis may end up trying to stab me in the back. Literally stab me in the back as we walk away. So.
Well, he even looked at Sydney. He's like, that interview is looking mighty fine about now, doesn't it? And she was like, consider it done. He just smiles, pulls the trigger.
Let's not underrate the fact that Sydney has ruined this man's life. This man was innocently accused of killing Maureen Prescott by Sydney, who tagged him as a witness, seeing him leave the scene of the crime. Did prison time, and just recently has been
exonerated,
been acquitted. So from his perspective, like, Sydney ruined his life. He has a reason to be mad at her. If he turned around and shot Sydney in the head, I'd be like, listen, I'm not saying he should have done it with Chris Rock. I'm not saying he should have done it, but I understand.
Right. So,
and by the way, Gail gets shot too, but she's still alive.
Yeah. And then, remember, the villain always comes back for one last scare. It's just not Mrs. Loomis.
Nope.
It was Mickey.
Mickey, who
gets fucking bombarded by bullets.
Blown away. Mickey had been better off just plain dead.
Right. He could have been the next villain in the third movie.
Like, what was he trying to achieve when he popped up like that? What were you trying to do? What were you trying to do, Mickey? Didn't you know they had guns? What were you trying to do, Mickey? Damn.
So
we go to the end and everything's good and great except for one damn thing.
Hey, Dewey's alive.
No! Why?
Joel's back.
Joel's back, which I'm happy about because he literally waited until the exact moment the killers were no longer a threat, and he showed back up to
so
do his job.
It just makes me wonder, instead of leaving town, does that mean he just went to the next motel over?
He went to the Motel 6. He went to the Motel 6. He waited when he saw the news report, murder's captured, murder's dead. He literally jumped back in the cab and came back to the scene. He's like, hey, I want my job back. But no, the inclusion of Dewey still alive, the Man of Steel, the unsung Avenger. Really, next time the world's in trouble, they really should just.
I'm surprised David Arquette is not Superman.
I just don't understand this level of plot armor. The man got stabbed 3 times in the back, his already wounded back. Every time he gets stabbed, he then disappears for the rest of the movie. He just passes out every time?
Because he's technically supposed to be dead.
Dog, yeah. All right, let's get to our categories.
All right, best performance. This is actually pretty hard. To be honest with you, I want to give it to Haley, but she's not in the movie enough for me to care. So fuck it, I'm giving it to Haley.
Wait, what? You just said I wanted to give it to her, but she's not in long enough. But then you just said,
I mean,
Haley left no impression on me at all. So
she left. I can't say Sydney again, but we already said her in the previous movie. I'm not going to say David Arquette, even though no, I can't say him. He's not that funny.
I want to say Jada Pinkett almost, because she's so good in that opening scene. I want to say I would damn near say Randy, but oh man,
we'll go ahead and say Randy, bud.
He's qualified. He's in the movie long enough, sort of. He qualifies. I don't want to say Sydney because I feel like she gives a lesser version of her part 1 self.
She did. That's why I didn't care too much. I mean, she did okay in this one. You can definitely tell her interest in this movie is waning.
It's gonna sound silly because it's so minor, but I'm gonna say either Randy or Sarah Michelle Gellar.
You just give it to Sarah Michelle Gellar because she was Buffy.
No, she's great in her one scene. So
2.
I'm gonna give it to Randy because I feel like his character was done a grave injustice, and I do mean grave.
Alrighty, worst performance. Sorry, Timothy Oliphant. I do love him as an actor in later movies, just not this one.
This one's tough because I feel like Jerry O'Connell plays Sydney's boyfriend. He didn't do anything for me either. I thought he was like a really bland.
That's because you wish you were the boyfriend.
I never had a thing for you, Sid. He's a really bland boyfriend. He's like a bland character. When he dies, when Mickey shoots him, I'm just like, nah. I should feel bad for him because he got screwed over, but nah. I'm gonna say either my man Timothy Oliphant or Sydney's boyfriend Jerry O'Connell.
All right. Well then, what about best scene? I think we both already gave this one away, but for me, it's that soundstage.
Yeah, that was just fantastic. That if you can like If every horror movie had at least one sort of chase scene like that, you get a half a star for me just for that scene. So,
worst scene. We didn't talk about it. We skipped over it. I'm saying that cafeteria singing scene. It was just so fucking cringy.
That scene's unbearable for me to watch.
If you took out the singing part and just gave her the damn necklace, I would be fine with that scene.
That's unbearable, but also the weird play scene where Ghostface is on stage somehow in the play with Cindy.
I think
this is Grocery Store Part 2 for me.
So I don't think...
Is he actually in the play?
No. I think it's just
Her seeing
a form of PTSD with everything starting up again, pretty much. It's like a veteran who gets flashbacks because they heard a firework going off.
Okay, that's a scene I would normally skip. Is that scene? Definitely the cafeteria scene, and
the ending where Dewey's alive.
No, I'm gonna go with the cafeteria scene too. But the runner-up is definitely that stage scene. I just think it's weird.
So, is there anything you would want to explore more? Not really.
I did feel like they should. I feel like they should have given Sarah Michelle Gellar. I know that she's probably busy with Buffy, right? But I hate big death scenes for minor characters.
This wasn't even a big death scene.
She's given a full, it's a good 10, 15-minute death scene. This is a big death scene. It's set up for a long time. And I feel like this should have been the opening kill, or if it's going to be, in the middle of the movie, then give her at least 3 or 4 scenes of build-up for it. It just doesn't mean anything because we don't know her. So
yeah, I can't really say there's anything I would like to explore more, to be honest with you.
Knowing that Mickey's the killer, maybe involve him more in the proceedings.
Well, that's what I was going to put down as what would I want to change in a sense.
Did you notice that basically he pops up as the killer, right? But previous to that, he had disappeared from the movie for about 45 minutes. When someone disappears for 45 minutes, I actually start to think oh, this guy's the killer because he hasn't been killed, but he disappeared.
Right.
Why was he in the movie then? So it's you already start to know oh, well, he's kind of the killer then. So I didn't like that.
So me personally, when it comes to stuff I would want to change, it would have been that. Have Mickey in more, get to know the character of him trying to also lay off that he's, give us the subtle hints he's a killer, kind of like Stu and Billy, with him still also trying to make sure people didn't know he was until the end game of the movie.
I feel like because initially it was written with him not being the killer, it feels like
they would have had to bring
they didn't go back and change things with him. They kept his same scenes as if he was just going to be a victim, but they should have added more to give him for it to make more sense. Once him reveal himself, to me he's my least favorite killer in the series because
you don't know anything about him.
You know nothing about him, and then there's no great motivation to make up for it.
Except he just wants a trial.
Yeah, I don't know. I was happy as soon as he said, Billy's mother. As soon as he said that, I was like, just blow him away. Just shoot him.
All right, so overall thoughts, it's not as good as the first. I still enjoyed it, though. A lot of the setup and all the BS that happens in this movie could have been done either better or just not have happened at all. Mickey, again, as our killer, pretty much our main killer in a sense, because he does most of the killing, should have gotten more screen time, should have gotten bigger backstory or something. So overall, I'm going to have to give this movie a little bit under what I gave Scream, which is going to be a 2. So actually, 1 full star under.
That's a big difference. Okay. The movie, Scream 2, is an above average slasher. It's definitely not a bad movie. I only got one really big problem in this movie, and that's that Ghostface gets so damn lucky with all these kills. Half these kills, so much shit has to go right, so much has to be coincidentally in his favor in order to make the kill. You're stretching the realm of believability to a high degree. There's leaps of logic here that weren't there in the first movie. From the opening theater scene, Randy's death, again, Sidney showing up at the theater room for the grand finale at the end. They're huge logical problems. I'm still going to give it 2.5 stars because I don't feel like it's a bad movie. It's well directed, well made. The acting's all pretty good. So it's not a bad movie. There's just some things that make it way below the first movie. 2.5 stars.
You're still nicer, greater than I am.
because you couldn't even give Tremors 3 stars. I will never forgive you for that. All right, folks.
That was our first episode.
Next week, of course, we'll be back with Scream 3, continuing the series. All right, folks. Until next week, if you do get a phone call, and the phone...
Answer, it's probably your pizza guy wondering where your address is.
And the phone call says that your warranty's expired, but you don't even own a vehicle, that may not actually be the warranty guy. It may be Ghostface.
Better yet, if you get a call and they say your warranty has expired, you just, at first you ask, is this a real person or is this a recording? It's a real person.
When they ask you, who was the killer in Friday the 13th Part 5, do not say, Jason, Jason, Jason! I saw that movie 13 times! Don't do it. It's not Jason.
Well, for one, nobody's seen that movie 13 times.
Well, unfortunately, I feel like I may have, but we're getting a police escort out of town. Hopefully Ghostface doesn't attack our car.
Hey, what's that white mask coming this way for?